You know that feeling when you suddenly need to get up to speed on something, like right now. Well, today we're doing just that. We're diving into the global solar water heater market. Sounds niche, maybe, but it's surprisingly dynamic. Our goal here is simple. Unpack the latest forecasts, figure out where the growth really is, and most importantly, what this all means for you. We're basing this deep dive on excerpts from Global Solar Water Heater Market Forecasts by Cognitive Market Research.
Exactly, and we're aiming to give you more than just numbers. We want to highlight the specific trends, the regional details, what's really driving things in this sector. It's about understanding the future of a key renewable energy solution.
Okay, let's kick things off with the global hot take, the big picture, and the overall story for solar water heaters globally. It's pretty impressive. Strong, sustained growth. So just to give you the key figures, in 2021, sales revenue was already, what, $2.46 billion?
$2.6 billion, yeah, a solid base.
But it's projected to jump to over $3 billion by 2025. And then, looking further out to 2033, it's expected to hit nearly $4.74 billion.
4.74 billion. That's quite the climb.
It really is. That works out to a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR, of about 5.6%. Just under 5.6, actually 5.599%.
Right. And what's fascinating about these figures, I think, is what they tell us about the wider renewable energy picture. We're not just seeing a quick bump. This growth projection out to 2033, it suggests a real long-term commitment.
Yeah, like it's becoming mainstream.
Exactly. Solar water heating is moving beyond just niche applications. It signals a sustained shift towards these kinds of sustainable solutions globally.
That global view is definitely encouraging. But, the really interesting part for me is often in the details. Where is this growth actually happening? Are some regions pulling ahead more than others?
Oh, absolutely. When you break it down regionally, Asia-Pacific really stands out as the leader in terms of growth rate. But it's not like uniform across the board. There are some real hot spots. So APAC as a whole, the market's set to more than double, basically, from around $466 million in 2021 to over $1 billion by 2033.
Right.
That's the highest regional CEGR, 6.844%.
Wow, over $1 billion just in APAC.
Yeah. And China and Japan are big contributors, steady growth there. China's looking at about 6.4%, Japan 6.3% CAGR.
Okay, solid numbers.
But the really exciting story, I think, is in some of the other areas. India, for example. India shows the highest growth rate for any single country in the whole report, a CAGR of 7.595%.
7.6%, that's huge.
It really is.
Yeah.
Suggests something powerful is happening there. Maybe specific government policies, urbanization.
Right.
Could be a mix of things.
Right.
And Singapore is also doing really well, over 7.3% CAGR.
Okay.
And maybe the most surprising part, the rest of APAC category. So smaller markets grouped together is showing an incredibly strong CAGR of nearly 9%, 8.972% to be exact.
Almost 9%. Wow, so it's not just the giants. The adoption is becoming really widespread across the region.
Precisely. It shows broad and accelerating uptake.
That's a great insight. Are we seeing similar kinds of acceleration maybe in other developing regions? What about South America? That region also showed strong growth, right?
Yes,
Great.
definitely. South America is also on a really strong trajectory. The revenue there is projected to grow from about $167 million to over $365 million by 2033.
Also more than doubling.
With a solid CAGR of 6.655%. Brazil is a big part of that, of course. Its market is doubling too, around 6.3% CAGR.
Makes sense.
But interestingly, Argentina stands out with even stronger growth, a CAGR of nearly 7.2%.
Okay, so again, specific countries within the region showing particularly high momentum.
Exactly. It points to growing demand for sustainable solutions across the continent, not just in the biggest economies.
Okay, so we have these high growth regions. How does this compare to the more, established markets? Let's look at North America. It's a pretty substantial market already, right?
Very substantial. North America's value is projected to hit over $1.8 billion by 2033. The growth rate is steady, a CAGR of 5.232%.
So a bit slower than APAC or South America, but still solid growth on a large base.
Right. And the U.S. makes up the lion's share of that, obviously. About $1.4 billion of the $1.8 billion projected for 2033. Its CAGR is around 5%.
Okay.
But here's a nuance. Canada. Canada is actually showing a higher growth rate than the U.S.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Canada's CAGR is projected at 6.347%.
Huh. Any thoughts on why? Different policies, maybe?
Could be. Different policy environments, maybe higher consumer awareness or incentives in certain areas. It highlights that variation even within a region.
And Mexico.
Mexico's contributing solid growth too, around 5.7% CAGR.
Fascinating how even neighboring countries can show different dynamics. What about Europe? Another big established market. Similar story there.
Very similar in some ways, actually. Europe's overall growth projection is almost identical to North America's. Expected to reach over $1.3 billion by 2033 with an ER of 5.231%. So, steady growth.
Okay.
But, like the other regions, the real story is the diversity within Europe. You've got stronger growth pockets, like France showing a 6% CGR, Italy around 5.6%. Pretty good. But then you see that same pattern we saw in APAC, the rest of Europe category. That segment is showing really strong momentum, a TGR of 6.7%, outperforming many of the larger individual countries again.
So that suggests maybe untapped potential in smaller European markets, or Eastern Europe, perhaps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It seems like while some bigger economies might be maturing a bit, there's still significant growth happening in less saturated markets.
And on the flip side, any slower growth examples?
Yeah, the report highlights Spain, for instance, with a KGR around 4.17%. And Denmark is even lower, projected at about 2.7%.
Quite contrast.
It really is. It just underscores how much local factors, policy, energy mix, market conditions matter, even within a connected region like Europe.
Okay, so the picture is definitely one of overall growth, but
Yeah.
with really significant variations depending on where you look. What about the remaining regions, Middle East and Africa? How do they fit in?
Right, so the Middle East, we see growth there too, projected to go from about $96 million to just over $151 million by 2033.
Okay, positive growth.
Positive, yes. But the CAGR is lower, around 4.087%. That's actually the lowest regional rate we've discussed so far.
Any reason why that might be? Maybe abundant fossil fuels?
That could certainly be a factor, different energy priorities perhaps. But even within the region, there's variation. The UAE, for instance, shows the highest growth there, over 5%.
Okay, and Africa, often seen as a region with huge potential for renewables.
It is, though according to this report, Africa is currently the smallest market size-wise for solar water heaters, projected to grow from around $39 million in 2021 to about $71.5 million by 2033.
Okay, so smaller numbers.
Smaller numbers, yes, and also the lowest overall CAGR in the report at about 3.9%. But, it's still positive growth. And any expansion of renewable solutions in these markets is significant for development and energy access down the line.
Yeah.
Nigeria, South Africa, those are key countries mentioned. It's a reminder that even what looks like modest growth now can be really important long term.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground, a lot of numbers there. So let's try and distill this. What are the main takeaways for you listening in?
I think the big takeaway is that this market is definitely growing robustly, and it's a long-term trend. It's not a fad. But the really crucial insight is the variation. It tells us so much about how renewable energy adoption works differently across diverse economies. It's not just one global story. It's many regional and national stories playing out.
Exactly, the dominant trend. Asia-Pacific is clearly leading the growth charge, especially places like India, Singapore, and that surprisingly strong rest of APAC. South America is accelerating too. And even the established markets, North America and Europe, show consistent expansion, but with those internal variations we talked about. And these differences, the higher growth in Canada versus the US or the strong rest of Europe, it hammers home that adoption isn't just about sunshine hours. It's heavily influenced by policy, economics, consumer awareness, all sorts of local factors. It's a really dynamic picture. So that was our tour through the global solar water heater market forecasts, looking at where things are heating up, so to speak.
Yeah, what's really fascinating now is to think about the broader implications, right?
Yeah.
How might this data shape investment decisions? If you're looking at renewables, does this point you toward specific regions? What about policy? Does this encourage developing nations to push harder on solar thermal? And even for you personally, does knowing the global trend influence choices about, say, your own home energy setup?
Great points. And maybe one final thing for you to chew on, building on all this. We've seen these really diverse growth rates. So what factors beyond just the obvious, like sunshine, are really driving things or holding things back? And thinking ahead, what could actually speed up adoption in those areas that are currently lagging a bit behind? What would it take? Something to ponder.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're your shortcut to getting up to speed on the world's most dynamic industries. And today, well, we're really turning up the heat. We're diving into the evolving world of solar water heaters. Now, this deep dive, it's fueled by some exclusive data, some really great insights from cognitive market research. Our job, like always, is to pull out the key takeaways, the nuggets of knowledge, maybe some surprising bits so you get the crucial info on this rapidly growing sector. Okay, so let's kick things off. What's really powering the growth here? What's behind the expansion in this green tech space?
Well, what cognitive market research really points to, quite strongly actually, is the undeniable impact of government action. Think about incentive, renewable energy policies.
Right.
Across major regions, Asia, Europe, North America, we're seeing things like mandates, tax breaks, pretty hefty subsidies sometimes, all specifically designed to get more solar thermal systems installed.
So it's not just a gentle nudge then.
No, not at all. Cognitive's data suggests these kinds of initiatives can speed up installations by, well, maybe up to 30% in those sun-rich areas, especially where energy security and cutting carbon are, big national priorities.
Okay, that makes sense. Policy pushing progress. But what about for the average person or a business owner? What's the immediate hook? Is it just about saving cash on bills?
Oh, absolutely. The economic side is huge. Cognitive's research really highlights this. Take regions where traditional energy prices, gas, electricity jump by just, say, 10%. They've seen solar water heater installations surge by like 25%. It's a pretty direct link. People see those rising utility costs and they start looking for sustainable options, things that offer long-term savings. It's smart.
Yeah, cost savings and I guess a smaller carbon footprint too.
Exactly. It's a move towards energy independence and definitely reducing environmental impact.
And if we zoom out a bit, there's this other factor, urbanization.
Yeah.
Especially in developing economies. How does that fit in?
You've hit on something really critical there. Places like India, Brazil, Indonesia, they're seeing massive growth. New homes, new commercial buildings going up everywhere.
Right, huge construction booms.
Exactly. And all that new infrastructure needs hot water solutions. So naturally, demand shoots up. What's interesting, according to cognitive market research, is how often this development ties into green building codes or even government partnerships that actively favor solar. It's almost like solar's being built into the plans from the start in these new developments.
Okay, so it sounds like a really positive picture overall. Lots of tailwinds, you could say. But markets always have challenges, right? What obstacles did Cognitive's research flag? What could slow things down?
Yeah, that's true. Despite the strong growth, the research definitely points out some significant hurdles. What's fascinating here is how practical some of these barriers are. Number one is often the high initial investment.
The upfront cost.
Precisely. The long-term savings look great on paper, but that initial price tag, it can really put off budget-conscious consumers. And this is especially tough in, say, lower-income regions where maybe financing options or those support programs just aren't there.
Right, I can see that. And then there's the performance aspect. I imagine people worry, what if it's cloudy? What if it's winter? This seasonal variability issue.
That's a really common concern, and yeah, it's valid. In places with less sunshine or during really cold winters, the performance can be inconsistent. It's just the nature of the technology sometimes.
And that affects reliability, I guess.
It directly impacts reliability. And cognitive studies show that if people can't rely on getting hot water when they need it, well, their trust in the system goes down pretty quickly.
Lack of trust is a killer for adoption.
Definitely. It's a critical factor.
Okay, so cost and consistency.
Yeah.
What about competition? Are other technologies elbowing their way in?
Good point. The market isn't standing still. We are seeing more competition. Things like electric heat pumps, they're getting better and cheaper, and also PV-powered water heaters.
PV, that's photovoltaic, right? Using solar electricity.
Exactly. Using solar panels to generate electricity specifically to heat water. These alternatives are becoming, real contenders in some markets. They offer consumers more choice, which is good, but it also means they might pull some market share away from the traditional solar thermal systems.
So a dynamic landscape for sure. We've looked at the drivers, the sunny side, and the clouds, the challenges. Now, let's get to the really exciting part. What did cognitive market research find in terms of innovation? Where's the tech heading? Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yes, absolutely. And what cognitive highlights is that these aren't just small tweaks. They're innovations that are actually changing the game in terms of payback time and efficiency. A major trend is integrated and hybrid systems.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
Well, think of new solar thermal models designed to work hand in hand with your existing boiler or heating system, or even systems that combine both photovoltaic, the electricity generation, and thermal capture in one unit.
Like a 2-for-1 deal.
Sort of. It's all about maximizing the energy you get, boosting efficiency, and making sure you've got hot water even if the sun isn't blazing.
Makes sense. So, improving the hardware. What about making them smarter? Are we seeing more intelligent controls?
We definitely are. Smart monitoring and IoT integration,
Mm.
the Internet of Things, that's becoming much more common. Modern systems often come with these intelligent controllers.
And what can they do?
They offer things like real-time diagnostics, so you know instantly if something's wrong. They track performance over time. Some even use AI, artificial intelligence, to optimize how the system works based on weather forecasts or your usage patterns.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it gives users way more control than before and really helps squeeze out maximum performance. It's a big leap.
That is a big leap. And is this just for houses, or are businesses getting in on this too? Can these systems scale up effectively?
That's a great question, and it ties into another key trend, the expansion into commercial and industrial use. We're seeing significant uptake in sectors like hotels, hospitals, even big manufacturing plants,
Why them specifically?
because they often have enormous hot water needs, just huge volumes daily. And these solar systems offer a scalable way to meet that demand sustainably. It means big energy savings for them and helps them hit their own green targets.
Okay, so if we connect these dots,
Yeah.
the new tech, the smarter controls, the move into commercial,
Yeah.
what's the bigger picture here according to Cognitive's research?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Cognitive really emphasizes that these trends aren't happening in a vacuum. They are direct responses to market demands, yes, but also to these larger economic shifts and, crucially, global sustainability goals.
Right, the push towards net zero and things like that.
Exactly. As countries aim for those targets, and as consumers just generally become more environmentally conscious, solar water heating is really changing its role. It's moving away from being, maybe a niche product for early adopters.
Yeah, something only enthusiasts had.
Right, and becoming much more of a mainstream solution. It's bridging that gap between being affordable eventually and providing real energy resilience for the future.
So what does this all mean for you listening, whether you're maybe involved in policy or you're a manufacturer or maybe just a homeowner thinking about sustainability? It seems like now is definitely the time to be paying attention to this sector. It's really heating up, no pun intended.
It really is. It's not just one option among many anymore. It feels like it's becoming a pretty critical piece of that whole sustainable energy puzzle.
So as we wrap up, here's something to think about. As these solar technologies get even smarter, even more integrated into our energy systems, how might they fundamentally change more than just how we get hot water? How could they reshape our daily routines, our energy habits, maybe even global consumption patterns in ways we're only just starting to grasp? Something to mull over. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.